Now, when we mention degrees of a scale, we're referring to the name of the notes in the scale. So sometimes when you name a scale, we don't want to ask you, press C or give me C or give me F. We'll just tell you, give me a certain name or a certain note of the scale, and then with that understanding, you will get the understanding of what the person is talking about. So for instance, we have what we call the tonic. The tonic is the first note of the scale. So for instance, in the key of C major, C is the first note of the scale, and that's the tonic. D is the second note of the scale, and that's supertonic. The third note of the scale of C major is E, but it is called mediant. The fourth note is called subdominant. The fifth one is called dominant. The sixth one is submediant. The seventh is leading note, and the eighth is called octave. So you have tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading note, and octave. Please note that these degrees of the scale is not limited to the scale of C major. It is actually all the scales in your music, all diatonic scales. So whether C major, D major, G major, F major, A major, E major, E flat major, F sharp major, and all the scales of the diatonic, you have all these degrees of the scale in there. So far, you know that every first note of any of your scale is tonic. All the second notes of your scale is supertonic. Third note of your scale is mediant. The fourth note of the scale is subdominant. The fifth is dominant. Sixth is submediant. The seventh is leading note, and the last one, the eighth, is octave. I'm sure this is very clear, right? Intervals is one of the easiest topics in the theory of music to understand. The interval is a distance in pitch between two notes, whether on top of each other or by the side, right? So this is, for instance, this is C to D. C to D, definitely, interval is just count by numbers. So this is C and this is D, so it's a second. So you have C to D is a second. C to E, just count C, D, E, is a third, interval of a third. C to F is an interval of a fourth. C to G is a fifth. C to A is a sixth. C to B is a seventh. And C to C is an eighth. So this is the interval of a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, and an eighth, right? So, and you can do this also in any key. For instance, this is an interval of F major, right? So the first note of the scale will be your tonic, right? Like I mentioned. So this is tonic and supertonic, so it's a second. C to F to G is a second. F to A is a third, that's your F, G, A. F to B flat is a fourth. F to C is a fifth. F to D is a sixth. F to E is a seventh. F to F is an eighth. All right. Now here, let me introduce something here, what we call a unison. A unison is when you have two notes of the same pitch together. So for instance, you can have C and C together. It's a unison. Or F and F together. That's the interval of a unison. Like I said earlier, the same thing you can have in all keys. So I've just done C major, and then this is F major. You can just try that out for G major and also F major. So it's very important to understand intervals in music because you will need it in your singing, you will need it in your playing. So the understanding of it will be very great. And as a singer, we have to harmonize. You are going to be using your interval effectively. So also an instrument player. So on the understanding of this interval will help greatly. Here we have the tonic triad also. Now, you remember when we're learning the degrees of a scale, we said the first note of the scale is a tonic. Now, a tonic triad is a triad built on the tonic of a scale or the first note of the scale. For instance, this is the key of C major. We build a triad on C, and every of your triad must have the tonic, the third, and the fifth. So it goes like in your odd numbers. The first note is your C, the third note is your E, and the fifth note is G. So that's a C tonic triad. So you can play this on the piano actually, or any string instrument. Right, so the tonic triad is the first note, the third note, and the fifth note. Now the next is D major tonic triad. The D major tonic triad has the first note as D, the third note as F sharp, and the fifth note as A. Now what you have here is tonic triad with key signature. I intentionally put this as tonic triad without key signature because sometimes you need to be careful to know whether the key signature affects the notes of that triad or not. For instance, in the tonic triad of D major, we have F sharp, and the F sharp here is affected. So when you're saying it, don't say D F A, it is D F sharp A, right? And as it is spelled out here. So also you have the G major tonic triad, which starts with your G as a G major tonic triad, G B D, right? G B D as a tonic triad. Then moving on, you have F major tonic triad. We're starting with your F A C. You would notice that none of this is affected by the key signature. So you just have FAC. None of this is affected as well. You just have GBD. I hope this is clear and well understood.